Welcome to the Sweet Spot Podcast, where we're all about helping players, coaches, and parents get the most out of the game. Whether you're stepping up to the plate, coaching from the dugout, or cheering from the stands, we got you covered with expert tips, strategies, and insights to make youth sports a better experience for everyone. Each episode, we'll share our own experiences and bring on special guests who will offer valuable advice on skill development, teamwork, and creating a positive environment for growth both on and off the field. So let's dive in and make the game even sweeter.
Play ball.
Welcome to another episode of the Sweet Spot Podcast. Again, we're not in the studio, but we really have a very special guest here today. His name is Scott Carr, and he's the athletic director of FIU. Scott, welcome aboard.
Thank you so much. Great to be here. Appreciate you guys having me.
Thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Scott. I mean, this is first time we have somebody that's not a coach or a player, so we want to get the different perspective of what it takes to run an entire department, right? Like an entire
sports program.
All the sports programs, right?
You wanted a non-athlete perspective. That's always good, you know?
I mean,
you got a non-athlete sitting right here, so that's great.
I studied sports administration myself, so I'm happy that we're sitting here with you, and you could give us a little taste of what your life is all about, and
absolutely
what your everyday job consists of.
Yeah, sure. Well, it'd be nice if it was if there was some consistency, right? It's every day is different, but that's what I love. I think I love the fact that every day you're going to get something a little different. The things that are constant, right? What's a normal day look like, right? Well, there is no such thing as a normal day in this business, but what normal looks like is you're going to have some meetings, right? You're typically going to have some sort of an event, whether it's an actual sporting event or whether it's a lunch, whether it's a dinner, whether it's something, you're going to probably have some sort of event. You're usually guaranteed that you're going to have to put out at least one fire, right? There's typically going to be something that, you come in and there's just didn't have that on the agenda today, right?
Yeah.
That weren't planning on that. So you're usually going to have something like that's going to happen. You're typically going to make, 25 to 50 decisions in a day, right? They'll just be for different things, right? But there's not really typical, but that's what I love about it. I would struggle, just in a Monday through Friday 9 to 5 doing routine. The same old thing, routine, right? Let me grab this Excel spreadsheet and look at these numbers and do the same thing every day. It's what I think keeps you young, keeps you energized. That every day you're going to come in and get a chance to do something different. But the other part that that's consistent is you're going to impact young people's lives every day, and that's that's my life purpose is to positively impact the lives of others. I get to do that every day in what I do, and I like to pour into younger people and help change those lives. I think a college degree really does that. So get to do that every day as well, right? Get to be a part of that.
How did you get into athletics?
Sure. So the easy answer there, I was born into it. So my father, Bill Carr, he was when I was born, he was working in the athletic department at the University of Florida. And 1980 to 1986, so I would, starting 1980, I'd have been 8 years old, and he became the athletic director. So for me, I grew up knowing that you never knew where you were going to spend Christmas break, right? You might be in another city for a bowl game. You might be, you just didn't know. That was fun. You knew that if you were on summer vacation and you were driving around maybe in the mountains in Tennessee or North Carolina or somewhere, you were going to swing by several different universities and look at their athletic facilities. That was just part of my childhood, growing up, graduation. Not graduation, but just growing up as a child, and that was the family. That was what the family did, right? And so I loved it. I have 4 siblings, 3 brothers and a sister. They did 180s. They went the complete opposite from working in college sports, right? They said we saw Dad working 7 days a week and 60 to 80 hours a week, and we like the 9 to 5 Monday through Friday a little bit better. So my siblings all have great jobs, but they went the complete opposite direction. But I just loved it. Loved spending time with my dad. Sunday after church, we might go to the golf course and watch the golf team, and we may go to the swimming pool and watch the swim team and dive team. And I was just always his little sidekick going everywhere. So just grew up loving it, and I knew by the time I was a sophomore in college that it's the career that I wanted.
Nice. And as far as the program here, how many sports teams do you guys have, or athletic wise?
Yeah, so we have 17 sports teams. Now 5 of those are track, right? So when I say 17 in track, you go men's cross country, women's cross country, men's outdoor, women's outdoor, and then women's indoor, right? So five. You may look at it and go, well, Scott, that's one sport, right? It's track and field, but it counts as 5. So that's 5 of our 17. But we have a total of 17 sports, and goal is to compete for championships in all of them, and have over 3.0 GPAs in all of them, right? So we're working on those goals every day.
That's awesome. Yeah, go ahead.
Of all of the sports programs that you have, how do you keep tabs and how do you balance all of your responsibilities, and how are you able to follow up on all of them?
Sure. Well, it's I tell people, this is a lifestyle. It's not a job. That's the way it works. And so for me, it's sometimes it's enjoyable and sometimes it's not when you're on social media, right? So social media, you get plenty of opinions out there from experts, and if you don't think they're experts, just ask them; they'll let you know they're experts. But it's one of those where, for me, I keep up with it every day. I'm looking at the calendar first thing in the morning. What sporting events do we have going on today? What's going on with the practice schedule? What's happening there besides just the meeting schedule I may have? And it's just doing everything I can to be engaged. So I'll be engaged on social media. And then for me and even for my family, we try to make it to as many events as we can. It's one of those where, spending time with my wife. We spent time last night here at the baseball game, right? Tomorrow night, she'll come meet me and we'll be at softball at 6:00. Baseball starts at 6:30, so we'll watch the end of the softball game, get here around inning 5, hang out and watch that, and get a chance to spend some time together in the stands, right? So it's a date night while I'm watching softball and baseball, right? So so that's what we do to spend time together. So it's doing that, and for me, it's trying to make it to as many conference championships as we can. I was able to get to the women's tennis championship last week, and we won it, so that was wonderful. Awesome. I was hoping to be at the beach volleyball championships this weekend, but ended up having a dinner event Saturday night and Sunday night that I need to be at here in town, so I'm not able to travel, but I'll be supporting them from afar. Had a baseball game Tuesday at 2:00 in the afternoon, so I've got the audio going in the office while I'm trying to do some work, right? So it's again, it's just it's a passion, and it's the same thing. There might be a time where I'm in a meeting and we have a sporting event going on, and I'll get a text and it's my wife giving me the score update, right? Because she's paying attention to it at the house or whatever, right? So it's really it's not work keeping up with it. If I'm trying to explain it in a way, it's not work. It's a lifestyle. It's passion, and so you're paying attention and keeping up with it just because you're so into it, right? And when you have a chance to, the favorite part of the job is interacting with the student athletes, going to practices, going to games. That's the fun part, right? And so, just having a chance to do that and seeing the young people that you've gotten a chance to get to know a little bit as a human being, and seeing them have some success and have some fun in what they're doing, you want to continue to see that. So it's not even work when you're trying to keep up with it.
How important is it to have that backing from the family, right? Like, it seems like your wife is probably even a bigger fan than you are, right? How important is that to have that family push and drive to have the same passions you do?
I mean, those are fun date nights.
Right?
Yeah.
It does sound. I mean,
That's
that
different.
Great.
It sounds great.
Absolutely. No, it's critical, right? I mean, and like I said, I've mentioned it earlier, but it's a lifestyle, not a job, right? It's one of those where if someone's wanting to get into the sports, if someone says, I want to be an athletic director, right? My comment to them is, okay, well, give it a try, right? Do an internship, volunteer when you're in college, do some of those kind of things, and make sure that you like working in college sports as much as you like college sports, right? Because obviously here we're here to talk about college sports right now, right? Not pro sports, but it's one of those where make sure that you don't just love the games, make sure you love the business, right? And so I love the business, and my family loves the business, and so to your point, it's critically important, right? I mean, it's one of those where I've heard stories from friends of what it's like if they get home at 6:00 instead of 5:30. I don't know what that's like, right? Because the way it works in my house is, if I'm home by 7, we'll have dinner together. If I'm home after 7, she may or may not have eaten if she's hungry, right? I mean, and there's no, why are you home late? Yeah. Why didn't you text me? Why didn't you call? Why didn't you? Because she just knows, right? She's just fully supportive. My daughter's the same way. My daughter's about to turn 16. If she were here on this microphone, she'd tell you that her goal right now is to be an athletic director, right? So that's what she's wanting to do as of a 16-year-old, right? Things can change, but that's exciting. she loves it too. You know, she gives me a hard time. We haven't been to a bowl game in a couple of years, and she's like, Dad, when, you know, I'm ready to go to a bowl game, right? So she's ready to spend Christmas time away, right, if you will, and enjoy that, because she understands as well that, you know, there's no point talking about Christmas plans in November.
Right.
Where are we going to be over Christmas holiday? Well, we don't know yet. We got to see what happens with the bowls. We got to see, right? And so there's no, in my house, nobody asks, what are we doing? And the in-laws know, you know, my mom, of course, knows, because she grew up in it or lived in it, is that's just how it works, right? And so it's and my mom will tell you too, because, you know, she was married to my dad for over 50 years, that, you know, that's just part of it. I mean, it's a different lifestyle, but it's a very enjoyable one, as long as you're fully embracing it. And my wife fully embraces it. And I knew that when we were dating. Quick story there. I went over to her house. She was cooking dinner, and I walk in, and she had the Braves game on. And I just looked at her and I said, hey, listen, you know, because, you know, when you're dating somebody, you're like, are you doing this to, you know, because you think it's what I want? Or I said, hey, I'm not really a Major League Baseball guy. Sorry, I see you got the Red Sox jersey on, but I'm not, even though we enjoyed going to the Red Sox game when she ran the Boston Marathon a few years back. But
nice.
I said, I don't really watch Major League Baseball. You don't have to have sports on just because. And she goes, oh, it's not on because you're coming over. She goes, Braves are my team. She grew up in Mississippi. She's like, the Braves are my team. She starts rattling off all the players, and I'm going, okay, all right. So I guess you like sports, right? So I'm like, you're not putting on a show, right? So so I knew pretty early on that that she was going to be a great match, and you have to have that a great partner that's going to be supportive and understands what you do, understands the stress, understands the hours, and is there to support you.
Absolutely.
That sounds like a very supportive, you know, team that you have around you. And you mentioned success earlier. What is your definition of success when it comes to this area of your life, and how that ties into your personal life as well?
Sure, absolutely. So something I say to the student athletes a lot of times is, the goal I have is for them to have a great experience while they're here, right? So you want them to enjoy their experience. You know, you're not going to bat 1,000 there, right? Because if they're not playing enough, or if something, you know, they may, you know, the coach yelled at me, or, you know, something may happen, right? But you want them to have a great experience. And I tell them, I want you to leave with championship rings on one hand and a diploma in the other, right? And I tell them, I want both. I don't just want championships. I don't just want graduation. I want, you know, really want to have both. So, you know, that's really the goal, ultimately, is to compete for and win championships, and to see young people get those degrees. You know, something that's so wonderful in our business is we get to see a lot of the first generation students get those degrees, and then, you know, 15 years later, 20 years later, you know, you're seeing them come back, and you're seeing their families, and, you know, all of a sudden they've got kids that are whatever age, and those kids are telling you what college they're going to, and, you know, and it's not, I may, or, you know, what do you mean go to college? Mom and dad never went to college. It's, no, I'm going to college because dad did or mom did. So it's that, right? It's again, is, you know, what kind of a positive impact can you have every day, right? It's how did we grow today? How did I grow today? How did we get better today? You know, that's really the work piece. And then it's balancing out, of course, on the home front as well. Of you know, there's times when you sit back and you say, all right, well, this weekend I need to give some time to the family, right? And sometimes you're blessed enough that it works out. So next weekend, my daughter, who does dance, she's got a dance competition in Orlando. We have no home events. Just worked out, right? You're sitting there going, thank you, Lord. The stars align there, right? So I'll be in Orlando, right? Traveling to Orlando, you know, not taking a weekend off, but going and being a different kind of, you know, cheering for a different a reason, right? So it's making sure there's that balance, right? And then we balance things out, you know, even silly stuff where it's weren't able to do it last night. I was at the baseball game, but, you know, with our daughter dancing, she'll do a lot of stuff in the evenings, right? She may get done at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. So, you know, I'll get home, have dinner, whatever, and my wife and I will go pick her up together. And, you know, you try to do those types of things to where you're like, hey, I'm getting 15 minutes with my daughter, right, or whatever it may be, and you're going to make sure that you're valuing that time. So, you know, so success is ultimately, it's, you know, being a great husband, being a great father, and doing the best to be a great athletics director, and have a program that people want to be a part of. I'm a real big culture guy, right? So you want people to have an enjoyable experience, but at the same time, you don't want it to be, man, I had a great experience, other than the fact that we won 20% of our games. You're like, no, we want to do better than that.
Let me ask you, going into the success here and all of that, how much has your lifestyle changed with NIL, transfer portal? Talk to us a little bit. I know it might be a long answer, but if you could hit us some notes on that.
Well, if it hasn't changed at 180 degrees, it's 179, right? It's you talk about what's normal in your day. What's normal in the day is to have multiple conversations about NIL, transfer portal, and those types of things, right? But kidding aside a little bit, is what it's done for me personally is I've always been a 3 to 5 year strategic thinker, right? If you want to talk to me today about something, we'll talk about it, and I'm automatically going to be thinking, okay, how's this impact us 3 years from now? How's it impact us 5 years from now? Whether that's financial or whatever it may be. With NIL, and I'm willing to admit, I've had to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I'm a 4 to 6 month thinker, right? I mean, we need to make a decision today. We got to do this because we need to retain talent, we need to recruit talent, whatever it may be. So we're going to do this today, and I'll figure out some of the implications of that 4 to 6 months from now, right? And a lot of that's financial, right? If you're going to come up with some money for NIL, that probably means that you don't have money for something else. Well, it's like, okay, well, that something else is a problem 6 months from now. I'm going to figure that out over the next 6 months, right? Whether that's talking to a donor, whether that's figuring out some sponsorship or moving some things around. So it's really impacted us that way. It's made it, in my opinion, it makes the need for coaches that are really good at building culture more valuable, right? So I know you just interviewed Coach Witten, great culture guy. Right. I mean, that was a big, he was somebody I was blessed enough to hire 3 years ago, and culture was important to me then. It's even more important now, because in the past you wanted culture so that you could take somebody as a freshman and you have a class as a freshman and you're building them up and they know your culture. And by the time they're seniors, your culture is incredible. Right. Well, now you still need that incredible culture, but you may have guys in your program 6 months, 8 months, 12 months. And you need them, you got to plug and play with your culture as well as your X's and O's. And so, I think culture is even more important. We know money's more important, right? So NIL's changed a big way there. It's changed the fundraising efforts, and the fact that we were working really hard a couple years ago on a facility master plan, and I put it on the shelf. About 14 months ago, I said, there's the draft. We're going to put it on the shelf, because right now we need rosters before we need new facilities, right? And that's a challenge, because we need new facilities here. We need some renovations done, and we're going to still have to work on those. But if somebody comes up and says, here's $1, that dollar's going to NIL right now, right? And so it's because again, the goal is, let's get a great roster, let's win. And when you win, you're going to be able to get some more donors, some more sponsors, some more tickets sold, and you can use those revenues to help do some of the operational things.
Yeah.
Last question for you.
Yes.
Where do you see the program and everything that you're doing 5 years from now?
5 years from now, I think the sky's the limit, to be honest with you. And that's what I felt 3 years ago. I feel like we've done a lot, set a great foundation. I think the program's in really good shape right now, the department as a whole. We're ready to see that now on the fields and courts, right? There's some sports we've been extremely successful in the past 3 years, and some sports that we haven't been as successful in the past 3 years. So we really need to elevate those, and excited about what we have going on there. So I think in 5 years, you should really see FIU being a program where you're going, man, they're dominant in Conference USA, right? They're really, and people talking about what's next for FIU, right? Are they going to be heading somewhere else, right? Is something else going to be happening? We're really ready for that next jump. I mean, I think over the next 3 to 5 years, I think you're going to see some incredible growth here. We're doing phenomenal academically, so it's hard to see growth there. When you have a 3.44 overall GPA for all your student athletes, it's, I'm sitting back going, man, I got to be careful, telling the new president that GPA, because it's going to be hard to keep that up there, right? But competitively, we've got to elevate, and I think we're going to. I think you're going to see a lot of that. And I really think you're going to see the brand at another level. And I think you're going to see the fan support at a much higher level over the next 5 years.
And one last question from me is those that are out there in the audience that want to take your path, what do you recommend? What are some of the things that you would kind of guide them with some remarks that you could tell them?
Yeah, no, thank you for that question. I love going and speaking. I get a chance to speak sometime to some undergrad sport management classes here, so I appreciate you saying that. You always want to pay it forward, right? So my recommendation would be, while you're in school, while you're in college, do whatever you can to get some experience, right? And again, I wasn't in a place financially when I was in college where I could volunteer, so I was an equipment manager, right? You know, I think I mentioned the Lord blessed me with enough athleticism, right? That I washed the athletes' clothes, right? That's how athletic I was, right? So I was an equipment manager, right? So I thought I knew how to wash clothes. I got married, and one weekend my wife said, Get out! You don't have to do laundry anymore, right? She said, "I got it. Don't touch our stuff." I said, "Okay, I'm just trying to help, right?" I'm like, I kind of did this for 7 years. I know how to wash clothes, right? But so for me, but that was experience, right? Now I didn't want to be an equipment manager. I wanted to be an athletic director, but I learned so much, right? We would host baseball regionals. I learned how to host baseball regionals without even realizing I was learning that, right? I was blessed when I was an equipment manager for football there. Played in 2 SEC championship games and played in 2 national championship games. I didn't realize how much I was learning about the bowl business and national championships and all those types of things. And so whatever you can do to get experience, that's huge for you to get that first full-time job, but it's also huge so that you can understand, do you love working in it or do you just love watching it? Because I'll tell young people all the time, this is not a 9-to-5 business. Right? If you're worried about what time you're getting in the office, what time you're leaving, what your paycheck is, how much you're making per hour,
it ain't for you.
It ain't for you, right? There's a lot of jobs out there that you can work 40 hours a week and make really good money. That's where you should go, right? And then you can come buy season tickets and be a donor and tailgate and watch the games and all that stuff, right? So experience to me is the key. Another thing I'll always tell young people is, while you're in college, when you're allowed to take some of those electives, take a speech class, because it blows me away. You can tell I'll talk for 10 hours if you want me to, right? But there's so many people that it scares them to death to get in front of people and speak. Well, if you're wanting to be in athletics, whether you ever become an athletic director or not, you're going to be speaking in front of a lot of people, right? Even if you're speaking in front of student athletes or whatever it may be. And so it's getting really comfortable with being able to talk and get out there in front of people. And, you know, sometimes people are nervous to talk one-on-one or one-on-two, right? And it's just getting really comfortable with that. But the key is gaining experience while you're young, while you're in college, so that you can figure out exactly what you like and go for, and part of the experience too is you're getting to know people, right? Because it's all about who you know, right? And so you do some volunteer work or whatever it may be in FIU athletics, whether it helps you 6 months later, 6 years later, 16 years later, you just never know how that can help your career.
Perfect. Scott, thank you so much. Great time. I think the audience could learn a lot about your experiences. We wish you the best here in the next 5, 10, 20, 30 years, however much you're on here. And hopefully you get a lot of rings going your way, and all the best to your family, and hope to see them out there on the stands.
Well, thank you so much. Really enjoyed it. Appreciate what you guys are doing, and look forward to tuning in and continuing to tell folks about FIU. So thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you guys for watching another episode of the Sweet Spot Podcast. You can find this on Spotify, YouTube, iHeart. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Thank you guys.